reduce the stigma for mothers in recovery?
Working with moms in recovery for me, it's really just been about communication. Making sure that there's no judgment when they're either talking about a relapse or an issue that's happening in their life. I think by using our voices for moms in recovery and not being ashamed to say that, and talking about it in rooms that it would necessarily be talked in, I think is going to help reduce some of the stigma. Like at the Recovery Cafe, or taking the message from the Recovery Cafe out.
Yeah. I feel like being able to that this break the stigma type thing is to empower each other, to help each other, lift each other up, help move the next person to where they need to go.
Yes.
Like, hey, I'll take your kid for an hour so you can go to group, or I'll take them for the night so you can breathe tonight, take that time to fuel your own energy and to rebuild and to focus on, okay, I need to do the next right thing. Well, the next right thing keeps the next best thing happening. Like I keep saying.
Might be mom going to a meeting.
Yeah, mom going to a meeting, just taking a breather, and having people around her that, feels safe with, that you could talk to and that aren't going to judge you and be like, man, I've done that too. Like that's happened to me, low key. Like I really know you don't want to share that, but, so being able to do that and encourage and empower each other, like, is definitely this step towards breaking that stigma, right? To say, hey, look, she did it, against all what everybody said, one size shoe don't fit all. It doesn't. And that, they're worthy too. And we can do this. We got this. Like we keep going, right? Mm-hmm. Just build each other up. I think it's very valuable to help mothers connect and to help them with the child care and to find their groups and navigate. A lot of them they're not only dealing with their substance use disorders, but depression, postpartum depression, it's extreme levels, and it all kind of goes together. And just knowing that they have somebody that's there and willing to help, and that they're not alone in this journey. And like, I see the difference, and I have a few regulars that come to me for exactly that. And it feels amazing to be able to help navigate that.
I feel like it's a daily thing for me. Like in my job, we have a lot of younger moms that come in, and so their parents will be there with them, and they're, they just think it's, they can't believe that their daughter did this. How did she get in this situation? And then it's just nice to say, well, I was in that situation too, or a similar situation. And, look where I am now. And it's not, I didn't wake up and choose to be an addict today. It wasn't ever something I ever aspired to be in life. It happened, and it's what it is. And now I get to share my story with people and help them get to where they need to be too, like you said.
You
right?
bring hope in that situation. Right. So in terms of shattering the stigma,
right,
you're bringing hope.
As someone who struggles with substance use disorder, I've been walking my own recovery journey for 11 years, and I have an 11-year-old son. Throughout my journey, I have been incarcerated. While incarcerated, I was given a job, as all inmates are, and that job was to be a nanny on the infant baby dorm at Indiana Women's Prison. Now, I just had my son taken away. He was living with his father. I was incarcerated, and I was missing out on everything. And I had to go to a baby's first Christmas luncheon and watch these moms who are incarcerated have their baby, and I didn't have mine. The desperation that you feel. I went back to my dorm that night, and I just cried and cried because I longed. My body ached for my child, and I longed to be with him, and those feelings never go away. And I vowed that if I ever got out, I would spend the rest of my days advocating for women and for change, so that no other mother had to go through what I was going through at that time.
working with some of the moms for us, when I have a new mom and she's coming in and she's looking for practical emotional support, it's just starting small. Something as simple as, does the baby have, blankets? What does the baby need? Being able as a volunteer to, help gather things, tangible things that a mom might not realize that she needs. We have some moms that don't have up-to-date car seats. They don't have blankets. They don't have the things that other mothers have. So when we're looking for volunteers in the community, I think it's so important to say every person could play a part. And so I like to give examples of help get tangible things. Write encouraging notes. It takes nothing to write on a note card like, hey, you can do this. It's nothing to send a text message, or maybe meet the mom for coffee. There's so many different roles, I think, a volunteer to play.
I know that currently I have had mothers come into, like, because I work at a cafe, and they're getting clean in trap houses, in the dope house, and like struggling and looking for help, and they got this baby, and they're coming up there and they're walking a mile, 2 miles to get there, just to, well, I needed to clear my head and I don't want to go do what I always done. So, well, you always do what you always done. You always get what you always got, right? So you got to put forth the effort. You can't be a bodybuilder without lifting the weights. Well, you can't be a sober without attending groups and getting support and helping yourself, right? So when you put forth the effort and I see people doing this, I want to help them. And so
what can the person do then that says, I don't know how to help them? What would you tell them?
Well, don't give them $1,000. What you do is give them what they need for the baby.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Give them what they need.
You don't give a recovering addict a ton of money. It could cause them to relapse. Give them diapers, give them the formula, give them the clothes, give them the ride, give them a babysitter. So that they can go to hurt.
Meal before meeting, it's nothing to say, hey, we're meeting at 7:00. Do you want to meet up at 5:30? I'll bring, a meal and we can just share a meal before your meeting and just a little bit of encouragement. But I think to volunteers knowing, hey, I can play a part in this, it's empowering to them as well.
Right. I think for, when what I've learned in my role, especially, is that, or in my recovery, is that I would always say I'm going to do this tomorrow, because I had every intention to. I was going to do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and it's the next day and the next day, because you think of all the things that you have to do to get to where you want. It's like, I didn't have a license. I didn't have my birth certificate. I didn't have my social security card. And it's so many things that you have to check off that it's overwhelming. And it's, you need that person that can sit with you, that can take the time to be like, this is where we need to start. We need to start from the bottom, and just like,
knowledge.
Show them, what it takes. And it's just, it's nice that I get to do this for our moms, because they don't have anybody else. They've had to get rid of everybody that they were hanging out with at the time. A lot of people don't have their parents to help anymore because they burned their bridges. And so it's just nice to be that person that gets to be like, take their hand, show them the way, and help them find a life of recovery.
Developing a recovery community is part of because a lot of us, the biggest struggle is trauma. It's traumatizing, as if we haven't been through enough traumatizing things. Now we have to change all our people, places, and things, and we really do. It's not optional, right? Mm-hmm. You have to change. So now you're shedding your whole lifestyle. Everybody that you thought was your friend or your support or your family, sometimes it's even family that's hindered. That's a part of the problem. So,
we took a baby last weekend for infant respite, so mom could go get some stabilization care and get a break. And during that time, my mom was with me. And, everybody loves holding a sweet little baby, right? That's such a great thing to be able to do. And my mom said, Alicia, how do you do this? And I said, it's not something that I woke up one day and say, I want to do this. I know that in the moment, I'm going to be equipped with the tools that I need. It's because I'm willing to put myself out there in that moment. And one of the best things I've ever heard to me early in my recovery about faith, about recovery, was when it's the right thing to do, it's never going to be convenient, right? Like you said, do it tomorrow. Getting clean today or doing it today or somebody needing help today, probably not the most convenient time. You could always think of a better time, but it's being able to be there in the moment. And my mom, she smiled and she nodded her head. And the best thing that I tell people that are just looking to be an ally, somebody to come alongside these mothers, to be a part of the village, and they may not have a lot of time to give, or they may not have a lot of money to give. I said, just be there, be available, show up, be present. And in all of that, just be kind. Kindness goes such a long way, especially with moms and postpartum and babies. And sometimes the mom doesn't necessarily just need somebody to rock the baby. The mom needs to know she's cared about too.
I think it's important for all mothers to understand that we are all in this together. Every struggle that you've faced as a mother, you can feel comfort in knowing that we're all going through similar things. And if we can come together as a village and support each other, then we can all succeed.
What is your advice for people who want to be more involved or active in the world of mental health disorders, substance use disorder, that world?
Yeah. So I think my advice would be is to remember that these women are women and people first.
Yeah.
They very much want to feel better, and they very much want to be able to parent their babies, just like you and I.
What would you say to an individual or healthcare provider that's looking to get involved? What would you tell them to do? Their first step could be, when someone's walking up and they're saying, I'm scared to volunteer, I don't know what to do, what would you tell them to do?
It's hard. Take time, get to know the person a little bit, find out, just offer the simple things.
What do you need? What can I?
Yeah. What would it take to make you feel better right now in this moment? It could be a cup of coffee. It could be a ride to the grocery store. It could be a pack of diapers. It could be, I need to go to a meeting by myself. It could be so many things.
And, I know from experience that it took me a lot to ask people for help. Like, I think, and when people did offer things, I would turn it down because I didn't want to be that person that had to accept help from people. So,
Yeah.
The more people offering that, maybe somewhere they won't say yes for you, but maybe the next person that asks, they might, because they are feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I was actually thinking that, and I lost my thought. But yeah, that happens. But yeah, to offer it, and not like, okay, she said no to me today, but maybe she'll say yes to her tomorrow.
I feel it's important that you ask for help, because people can't read your mind, and if you don't share there's no way that you can get the help that you need. And then if people are offering it to you, take what they offer you. It's people want to help, people want to care about you, and they wouldn't ask if they didn't want to. So it's just, I know it's hard to do, but it's just important. And a lot of people in healthcare don't ask because they think about what all that could be. You know what I mean? It's so much that they don't even know what to do.
They don't know that it could just be one. It's literally like working the 12 steps. Just take the first step.
Somebody cares about you.
Yeah, it's that simple. Don't make me ask you, because sometimes because I've done this and I'm guilty because I'm prideful or independent, or how I feel, or I just am ashamed, or I feel like a burden because they think they have to help me. No, so being able to just, like, if I offer something to somebody and I'm like, common sense, okay, maybe they told me no, but then I'll just leave something behind and they'll utilize it. I'll leave a number, or I'll leave an item that they may need, or, just like a suggestion box, and then they'll take it. But nobody ever really wants to say, oh, I need everything. I need your help. Like, I have to have.
Right. I would say to providers too, this is one of the things that's very important to me, is destigmatizing language, right? I think it's so important healthcare providers train their staff when a person has to call that's on medication assisted therapy and they have to ask for a refill or they have to stop, get an appointment. Sometimes language over the phone can be very traumatic when a person's like, oh, okay. Or the doctor can't see you. Can you wait that long?
I mean, I think one of the biggest barriers that we've seen, because I feel like that's sort of where a lot of my answer is going to come from, but one of the biggest barriers is just education about substance use disorder. And I feel like there is, I don't know if I would say a majority, I hope it's not a majority, but there's a lot of people in the community that still feel that it's some sort of moral failing or that people are weak. And so I feel like we've spent a lot of time in a lot of different areas in the community educating, and that's where I think most of the new ways of thinking, the innovations, the interventions are always coming from is just educating the community about what it is. It's a medical disease. We treat it with medicine. Taking MAT is not child abuse. And so how do we all work together in that, in the idea of the villages? I feel like, and I always tell my patients, once we get them into recovery, once we've got them on a stable dose of medicine, now it's our job to build the framework and the safety net. And that's connecting with a counselor, caseworker, social worker, all these community resources, peer recovery specialists, and having all these different places to go, people to call, so that when things get tough, you don't feel alone. I know that people, no matter how surrounded by people they are, they can feel very alone, but when you have multiple people giving you a message that you are worthy and you are good enough and you deserve good things and you can do it, the more voices you have telling you this, the better you're going to be able to stay in recovery. The more people you have to call when things get tough. If you have one person to call and they don't answer, it's different than if you have 20 people to call. So I feel like that's where our community is sort of working. And I do feel like we've made massive headspace and change in the past 7 years since I got here, almost 8 years. But I feel like we've seen a lot of growth. Our community, these meetings that we have are bigger. There's more organization, there's more people, there's more collaboration between cities, which is huge. So a lot of it's just education, I think, honestly.
How does substance use disorder for mothers in recovery differ from other recovery?
I think substance use recovery versus other recovery is it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It has to be a commitment, an utter inhale, exhale life change. When you're walking in recovery, everything about your life changes, just like when you become a mother. They always say when a baby is born, so is a mother.
Right.
And in recovery, it's the same thing. It's a rebirth, if you will. And the effort is different, right? So if you have, an injury, and I've had those, and that's how we got started in this mess, but it eventually goes away, right? But when we're walking in recovery and with the moms, it's a complete change. You're moving in a complete different way, and it feels good, and it's healthy, and actually walking in recovery, in your recovery journey, you have to internalize and you have to prioritize yourself, because if you're not okay, nothing else around you can be okay. And so I think that is one of the biggest things that when we are talking to moms, we hold it. This is about you. This is individual. This is personal. This isn't about anything else.
I say it all the time. You have to be able, if you can't save yourself, you can't save anybody else. You got to be mindful and take care of yourself, your physical, mental, and your sobriety. You have to take that time to go to that group to not forget where you came from, so you can keep building on where you're at.
As a mom that started recovery when I was pregnant, and then, having to continue that journey with someone right along with me, everywhere I go, I had some, you're going for your leg, it's your leg, that's all, but when you have a baby, it's, I'm trying to figure out what's going on in my head, where I'm trying to make sure that I'm taking the best care of this baby that I can. And it's hard I had to learn that I had to ask for help and so I can have those times to focus on myself, because if I did it, it was going to be bad for me and my baby. And that's a hard thing to learn too. That was the hardest thing for me
and it's a learning process, right? Recovery versus, it's a learning process. You're not going to know everything in the beginning. You're going to make lots of mistakes. There are things that are going to happen. that's not the defining moment. The defining moment isn't when the bad things happen. It's how you handle those moments. And I think when you look at walking in recovery as a new mom, it's so scary because the coping skills are what you're used to doing that were unhealthy, versus then now you're learning healthy coping skills and you're learning how to take care of the baby. It's scary.
To like it again, back to it takes a village. Remembering that you have resources, remembering that there's people, but then also too, your village also needs to be mindful and remember the fact that we don't always want to ask. Did you want to ask? Did you want to ask for help? Okay, well, I'm not gonna ask you if you need this because I know you. Common sense says I know you need this. Sometimes I feel like asking almost is like, well, I'm hoping they're saying no. You know what I mean? So just show up and be like, I know you need to do this today, so I'm just gonna be here, and this is where I'm at. And I'm just gonna, come alongside you today and kind of scoot things along. So to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
That we as part of the village as well need to just be like, hey, I'm checking in, here I am, and I know you're going through it, so what can I do today here, right now?
So I had to learn to reach out to my support system if I was having a bad day, and that's a hard thing to do too. You want to make it present to everybody that you know what you're doing and you've got it under control.
Yeah.
Especially like with my family, I was trying to, one of my sisters had one of my sons for a year of his life. And so once I got him back, I just felt like everybody's watching me, they're waiting for me to mess up. They're waiting, and so having those friends that that are going through what I'm going through was so important for me to be able to get through those times, because it's like, they're waiting for you to fail, not in a bad way. They just, you know what I mean? They want to be prepared.
History
happens
repeats
so
itself.
many times.
Which a lot of moms that are coming to the village that need a village may have already had children taken from CPS. So the trauma is there. And then they look at this baby as almost like a redemption baby, or this is a new chance, a new gift of life. And so they're really wanting to do all things right. That's a lot of pressure in itself. And so for the village to recognize that they're going to be less likely to want to go get help because they have it in their head. If they're going to get help, CPS is going to be called or DCS is going to be called. So it's important for the village to know when talking with this mom, like, listen, you're putting stress on yourself already because you've already been down this path. So let's be mindful. Like, I'm here to help you. We don't have to get in. If you need to go get help, I'm here. And that's what the infant respite program that I've been able to establish has been able to do, is provide a safe place for infants to go so mom can go get help without CPS being involved, because that's so traumatic.
Yeah, it's unrealistic expectations of yourself. And I think we all tend to do that. Oh, I can do this. I got this. I got to do better. I got to show everybody everything. So you want to do everything perfect all the time. That just is like, well, man, you just took an extra 10,000 pounds of pressure and put it on your shoulders. Because realistically, we're human. You're in your rational mind. You're being irrational. You know what I'm saying? So you have to sort that out and be able to know if you're thinking rationally or irrationally, or how you're handling your situation, and not to weigh yourself down with extra stress by thinking you have to be perfect, because that's unrealistic expectation.
There's no such thing as perfection in recovery or in motherhood. Absolutely not. And when we walk around with the realistic, mindful expectation that we're all in this together and we can do it, and it's because people stepped in to believe in us that we're able to do it, I think that's what excites me and gives us passion, gives us hope for the next mother that's waiting to walk through the door.
So how does substance use recovery vary from other forms of recovery for our mothers?
I think one of the biggest things is in the world of substance use disorder, getting recovery involves a lot of stigma. And so going to a substance use physician, a MAC clinic, anything like this is very different than, going to an orthopedic doctor to repair a broken bone, or even a counselor for depression. So I think the stigma part is huge, and just feeling that they're going to be judged.
So what I'm seeing is when we're talking about our moms who are in pregnancy and in postpartum, they're focusing on their baby and they're focusing on the pregnancy, and they're not trying to take care of themselves as a priority. We know that as moms, we're always on the back burner. So their focus is more so the baby, when also we know it's important that they need to be focusing on themselves.
Yeah.
So how can the villages help support women emotionally and practically when they're going through substance use and pregnancy and postpartum?
So I think one of the best things would be that it's an approach that's very individualized to the woman and looking at what sort of needs she has, rather than a cookie cutter approach that everybody gets the same support, because certain people will have needs in different areas compared to other people.
Absolutely. So could look like helping a woman get a stroller so that she can access the bus system better.
Right.
Or giving a mom a ride to the grocery store so she can get her WIC to get her formula for her baby.
Right.
Yeah. I think we have to individualize it to their needs.
Absolutely. I have a talk with parents all the time that my motto is the people who care don't matter and the people who matter don't care.
Yes.
I tell them all that, same people, like, don't worry about what Susie down the road thinks. She's not coming and feeding your baby at 2 a.m. Like, who cares what her opinion is? Which I think that just releasing, not caring what other people think is way easier said than done. But those are, and then education about, like, just for the community. Yeah. I mean, the community, the patient, their family, all the people.
Absolutely. Reminding them, like you mentioned, they're not the one that has to deal with their decisions. So yeah, it doesn't matter what Susie thinks, because this is my life and I'm living it, so I need to be okay with those decisions.
Yeah.
And then I think as far as education goes, reminding everybody in the community, all the providers that are involved, to meet them where they're at.
100%.
These are their goals and their wishes, and we need to remember that they're in the driver's seat and we're here to support them.
And I think in the community, especially like in my world, in the medical community, when a patient comes asking for help, I mean, that's the biggest step, is admitting that there's a problem and being vulnerable enough to ask for help. And so taking the time and referring them to the places they need. If you don't know where to refer, figure it out. Because yeah, if they ask the question, you might be the one and only person they're gonna ask. And if you don't meet them where they're at, that might be it.
Absolutely.
For them.
Be ready to jump and help them.
100%. Or know who to call who can jump and help them if you don't.
Yeah, there's a lot of resources out there.